But you have no plans to retire at the moment, of course?
No. I mean, there's been talks about it, and I definitely have thought about it, and there's definitely times where I thought, there's other things I want to do. But then we're in the heat of this battle right now. I'm loving it more than ever. The training, all the work that you put into something, and then you get to really show your abilities. It's the greatest feeling ever. So I'm going to keep going for as long as I can.
Now, things have started to heaten up again when it comes to Hamilton's retirement, especially after talks emerging about Ricciardo signing with Mercedes to be their 2023 reserve driver just to conquer the driving spot if Hamilton decides to retire. However, it's a very uncertain future, especially after what Hamilton said about his future beyond 2023, which is why the question has to be asked: who is the perfect replacement for Hamilton when the 7-time world champion finally decides to retire? Now, one candidate has emerged as a favourite, given the fact that he was a part of the Mercedes Academy once prior to his move to Alpine. So, if you want to find out more, stick around with us until the end of the video. Esteban Ocon is currently driving in Alpine and is under contract with the team by the end of the 2024 season. However, it seems like the Frenchman will be more than happy to replace the 7-time world champion in Mercedes if the opportunity is presented to him. As things stand now, it seems like Hamilton is far away from retiring from this sport, and on Thursday's press conference, when he was asked about Ricciardo being signed as a reserve driver and his future, Hamilton said, "I think he's far too talented and he's earned the right to be amongst us all racing. If he's part of our team, that'd be great, but the third role is not really what's best for him. Now, if I was managing him, he'd be racing," said Hamilton, who also added that he's never felt better in his 37 years of life and that he plans to extend the deal with Mercedes in the upcoming period. "For me, I feel healthier than I've ever felt, I'm feeling fit, I love what I'm doing, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. My goal is always to be with Mercedes. I signed with them in 1997. I love that we have the long partnership we have. I feel like we're embarking on a lot of really positive things, not only in the sport but outside, and I think there's a lot to accomplish together. I want to be a part of that," finished Hamilton. This is why Ricciardo, being the Britain's replacement, is not a very keen thing to happen, and it's very unlikely that Mercedes will put Kimi Antonelli right away in the senior team when he comes from F2, as the youngster is currently racing in F4. Therefore, there should be a gap between Hamilton's replacement and Kimi Antonelli's arrival to the Mercedes senior team, which has to be filled with a driver that knows how to drive the Mercedes car. Now, Ricciardo will learn how to drive the car in one season as a reserve driver, but it's unlikely that the team will choose the 8-time race winner if another, more interesting option is offered to them. Esteban Ocon is that interesting option, as his career has been guided by Mercedes head of motorsport Toto Wolff ever since the Frenchman won the GP3 title in 2015. At this time, Wolff brokered Ocon's move to Renault, a team that is now named Alpine, which is something that F1 fans can see in the Drive to Survive Netflix documentaries. In 2019, Ocon spent a year off the sport because he was released from the 2018 Force India spot due to Lawrence Stroll buying the team and placing his son Lance Stroll at Ocon's driving seat. Prior to Ocon's comeback in 2020, he spent the 2019 season as Mercedes reserve driver, and up to this day, he has a very close connection with the team. Now that a vacant seat will be opened eventually with Hamilton's departure, there is a high chance that Ocon will be considered the strongest candidate to replace the 7-time world champion. Mercedes is known as a company and as a team that invests a lot in the development of its drivers, as we know that Russell spent 3 years in Williams prior to his Mercedes debut. That is why he managed to absolutely crush the 2022 season in a car that wasn't suitable for Hamilton at the beginning of the season, and Mercedes hopes that at some point Ocon will be able to adapt himself to the starting spot in the team by replacing Hamilton when the time comes. Ocon was also asked about this matter, as he said that an interesting future lies ahead of him. "Yes, we talk. Also because in career management, I'm always helped by Gwen Lagru, a manager who also works with Mercedes. So there is still a connection. Even though I'm an Alpine driver and my job is here today, I have a nice contract that expires at the end of 2024 and a very interesting future ahead of me," finished Ocon. Ocon was also asked about where he sees himself in the next 2 to 3 years and whether he envisages a lengthy F1 career. He replied, "I realize nothing is certain in Formula 1. Even if you have one, if you stood up to a double world champion like Fernando, you don't have a guaranteed future. We have the example of Daniel Ricciardo. 2 years ago, he was in the top driver group, and today he has no guarantee of a seat for next season. You always have to be at the top. Woe betide you if you give up," finished Ocon. However, Ocon hasn't really proved himself to be a very solid and good driver for the Mercedes seat. True, he is the leading reason why Alpine is in the P4 fight for the Constructors' Championship with McLaren, but it's very evident that Fernando has suffered a lot with the reliability issues of his Alpine. And when both of the drivers were fighting for spots, Ocon wasn't willing to let go of his spot, even though he was slower, which means that he doesn't have the good teammate spirit when the race isn't going in his favour. This is something that Mercedes needs to consider heavily if they're to sign Ocon, and although he does have a career win that was obtained last year at the Hungaroring, it's far away from a perfect career in a midfield team. But there is always a chance that he'll turn things around in a team that is much more competitive than Alpine, such as the case with Mercedes. Ocon is currently placed P8, 22 points behind Lando Norris in McLaren and just 7 points ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso. With all of the reliability issues Alonso had, one would think that Ocon should have a bigger advantage ahead, but nevertheless the season is going decent for both Alpine drivers as they're looking ahead to snatch the P4 place from McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. Now, drama is drama and rumours are rumours, and there will always be a rumour about a driver joining another F1 team, although he's already performing in a team with decent results. But this could be much more than drama and rumours, and given the fact that Ocon spoke about his future, saying that it's a very interesting one, we might expect some huge shake-ups if Hamilton decides to retire soon rather than later. So if Mercedes doesn't provide him with a championship-winning car, the main reason why he came back in 2022 after being robbed of the 8th record-breaking championship, it's likely that Hamilton will decide to step down and focus on himself. There isn't much left to prove, as he'll likely go as one of the greatest to ever do it, which is why we need to expect everything when it comes to Mercedes and their driver choice for 2024 and beyond. So, what do you think about this matter? Do you think that Ocon does have a real chance of performing for Mercedes from 2024 and beyond? Let us know in the comments below.